Get going.
All right, we're up and running.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Jim Dill, Chair of the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Committee. I want to welcome everybody here today. And we have 4 work sessions today. And without further ado, we'll go right ahead and introduce ourselves, and I'll start with Representative Schofield.
Good morning, Senator Dill, and good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Schofield. I represent House District 112. I live in the town of Weld with all 419 residents, and I represent 17 towns and townships in Franklin and Somerset counties, the High Peaks region of Maine. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Representative Gifford.
Good morning, Senator Dill.
Introduce yourself, please.
I am Jeff Gifford. I'm representative of the Lincoln area in District 142. Several little towns and unorganized territories in the area.
Great. Representative Landry.
Good morning, Scott Landry. I live in Farmington and represent the beautiful towns of Farmington and New Sharon in the Western Foothills.
Representative O'Neill.
Good morning. My name is Maggie O'Neill and I represent House District 15 in Saukko.
Representative Osher.
Good morning. I'm Lori Osher. I represent District 123. That's Orono, the home of the University of Maine.
Representative McCray.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Dave McCray. I live in Fort Fairfield, up in the center of Aroostook County, along with 2 other of the members of this committee. We've got a lot of snow up here, but boy, it's going fast. We're actually going to start seeing dirt in the middle of the fields, maybe by tomorrow night. That's it.
Representative Bernard.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And the sap isn't running so well because we have such nice warm temperatures. But anyway, my name is Sue Bernard and I represent Caribou, New Sweden, and Westmanland.
Representative Hall.
Yes, good morning. Randy Hall, District 114. I live in the town of Wilton, representing 6 towns in Franklin County.
Senator Maxman.
Hi there, I'm Chloe Maxman. I represent Senate District 13, which is all of Lincoln County except for Dresden, plus Washington and Windsor.
Senator Black.
Good morning, Senator Black, representing Senate District 17, which is all of Franklin County and 4 towns in Kennebec.
Representative Underwood.
Good morning. I'm Joseph Underwood from Presque Isle, and it's good to see everybody this morning. Thank you.
And Representative Pluker.
Hi, I am Bill Pluker. I represent Warren, Hope, Appleton, and part of Union, House District 95. Thank you so much.
And as I said, I'm Jim Dill. I represent Senate District number 5, Northern Penobscot County. And as I said, we have 4 work sessions today. And I would just ask that everyone keep yourselves muted until you're ready to ask a question or make a comment. That way we can help minimize background noise. And with that, I think everybody's probably pretty well up to speed on how things run. And what we'll do is if there is a vote to be taken, it will be a roll call vote, and you must be on screen and be able to be seen to vote. So with that, I will open the first work session, which is LD 60. Whoops, I'm sorry, I should have introduced also our clerk, Cheryl McGowan, who makes things run smoothly here for us, and our analyst, Karen Nettick, who will be summarizing everything and working with us on each of these bills. And so the work session for LD 66, an act to improve livestock and poultry preparation, is now open. And I will turn to Karen. And is this on the table?
Yes, it is.
Can I have a motion from someone to take this off the table? Scott Landry, Representative Landry moved, and Representative O'Neill.
I'll second it.
All in favor, just we can do this by a show of hands. Thank you all. It's off the table.
So I think I saw Dr. Jennifer Eberly on the list of registrants, so I imagine we should let her in. And also Nancy McBrady, Director of the Bureau of Agriculture.
Okay.
So this was sort of their omnibus bill. I'm not going to go through it again, but just a reminder that there was a related bill, Senator Timberlake's bill, an act to allow custom slaughterhouses to produce cuts of meat to be sold commercially in the state, LD 493. So there was a lot of discussion around custom operators, and you have voted to carry that bill over, LD 493. And part of that motion was to draft a letter to the Department of ACF to sort of to put together a working group and to kind of discuss all the issues around, you know, the lack of processing or the need for inspections and that sort of thing. So there are portions of 66 that have to do with that. But I'll just leave it at that for now. And I think the reason why we tabled this is Representative Pluker had concerns about some of the sections relating to custom operators.
Okay.
And he wasn't available at the last work session.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Karen? Okay, I'll turn to Representative Pluker, and Representative, have some concerns or issues you'd like to have answered by the department, or?
Is Dr. Eberly here, or
Yes, she
just
is.
what was that?
Yes, she is here. She's on the panel.
Okay. If she would just want to walk us through, I think that some of the conversation we were having was that this might be necessary for FSIS, cooperation. FSIS, I don't think, has come to us yet saying, or USDA hasn't come to us yet saying this is necessary. So we're trying to figure out how necessary is this, I guess is my question.
Okay. Dr. Eberly, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Jennifer, Dr. Eberly. I'm the director of the Maine Meat and Poultry Inspection Program. So in 2018, the state, at the urging of some of our processors, entered into an agreement called the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program, which will allow them to ship their products out of state. But as a condition of joining that cooperative agreement, our statutes have to be, instead of just at least equal to, they need to now be same as USDA statutes. So this bill is cleaning up some of the inconsistencies, mostly errors, but clarifying the statutes so that we can maintain that same as status and maintain that program.
Yeah, I think
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think specifically the conversation was focusing around the registering versus the licensing of custom slaughter facilities. Dr. Eberly, could you talk to us about why that's necessary?
Sure. So as it stands now in 2514, it's an option that it says they can register if they are not licensed. So they had to be licensed or registered. We found over the years, since that was put into place, that everybody chose registration. Registration is less onerous, it's free. They only have to provide a name and address. So because everybody just chose registration, we took away the licensed or registered and just said registered. We do, as part of our cooperative agreement with USDA, we do have to have the ability to review all custom facilities in the state. And we have no way to track them and know they exist unless there was a license or a registration. Registration was the least honest for them. As I said, it's free, and There are no regulations associated with it like there are with licensing. So we just chose to put everyone into registration.
And so this bill would force everybody to be registered, whereas before it was an option to be registered.
Before it was you could be registered or you could be licensed.
Oh, you had to be registered or licensed.
Yes.
But now you must be licensed.
Correct.
Okay.
They can still, many of our custom facilities do have licenses as well, but those licenses are for their retail operations, some of the other operations that they have.
Thank you. And what the meat coming out of our custom facilities, is that USDA, what's their interaction with the USDA program?
What you mean, the USDA in the state of Maine, or?
Well, I know that we're now going to be registering and licensing these custom meat folks, but I'm thinking if you're getting your meat done in a custom slaughterhouse, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not crossing state lines, right? It's so, and so is it USDA certified if it's coming out of a custom facility?
I mean, there's no such thing as USDA certified. There's USDA inspected, but it would not be inspected.
Right. That's what I was thinking, was we're now forcing USDA rules onto people, onto facilities that don't have any USDA license. So I'm just thinking, are USDA inspected? They're not USDA inspected, but they do follow USDA program rules. And that's what I'm thinking about. Does that make sense?
I guess, but we do the same thing as USDA, so there's not really any difference between us and them when it comes to monitoring sanitation. I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a kind of a legislative thing. So the idea of the USDA telling our custom facilities and our custom processors how to handle their meat, but at the same time, the custom facilities don't have access to any of the markets that the USDA or our cooperative agreement with USDA opens up. So we are seeing the increased regulation coming from the USDA, but we're not necessarily seeing the benefit for these custom processors, is kind of what I'm thinking. Do you have a response to that?
I'm not sure what the question was. Before, as a registration, USDA is not visiting these facilities. It is the state program that visits these facilities. And no,
I think you're saying it. I think you're exactly saying it. I think you're saying it, which is that they're following USDA rules, but they are not USDA inspected.
Well, of course. I mean, state inspected facilities aren't USDA inspected either.
That's exactly right. Thank you. I think we're agreeing with each other.
Okay, we'll stop that.
Good.
Get some other questions here. Karen, did you want to comment on what we're?
Yeah, so just going back to Representative Pluker question about registration versus license. So if you look at section 19 of the bill, I mean, current law is that it's permissive. They're not, so if they're not licensed, it says a person may register under this section, and it's paragraphs A through D describes, custom slaughterer, custom processor, fewer than 1,000 birds, fewer than 1,000 rabbits. And also what this bill does is, obviously current law allows custom operators that are not licensed but registered to engage in intrastate commerce. And obviously section 19 would strike this allowance.
Thank you. Representative Landry.
Yeah, I guess I got confused in that whole transaction there, that discussion. You do not have to be licensed, but you must be registered according to this bill, correct?
Yeah.
Jennifer?
Sorry.
Whoever knows the.
Right. And instead of being licensed or registered, you have to be registered.
Okay, thank you very much.
Representative McCray.
That kind of was, I was okay until the good representative and Dr. Eberly had their exchange, and I totally got lost there. So I did catch the fact that, just as Representative Landry mentioned just now, that it was licensed or registered. We're going to strike out licensed and just everybody must be registered. In order to do what, Dr. Everly? When they are registered, they will then be legal to process meat and poultry in the state of Maine, and yes, to ship it across state borders or not?
No.
All right.
The definition of a custom exempt facility is that they process meat for the owner of the animal, and all of that meat gets returned to them with a not for sale on it. So I don't know when the language about buying and selling went into that statute. Probably when poultry was added some years ago, because the poultry people who are registered can sell. But the language that really needs to be struck there is the language that seems to appear to allow custom facilities to sell out of state. So the only difference, there's really not going to be any difference in how they're treated, because all of the custom facilities are registered at this point. Nobody chooses licensure. And so we were just changing it to reflect real life, which is that everybody just registered. It is, however, important that licensure or registration, whichever the legislature prefers, it is, however, important that we have some system to know that they exist, because we aren't allowed to, one of the provisions of being able to operate our meat inspection program is that we have the ability to review the custom facilities. So registration seemed like the least invasive, least expensive, least thing we could do in order to be able to track those facilities. And that's why that needs to remain, that they are registered or licensed.
Very good. That was very succinct and I understood it. And maybe I should just stop listening and vote later. Thank you.
Representative Underwood.
Good morning. I just had a question for Dr. Everly, and that's what's the definition for custom versus license? Thank you.
So custom registration, there's not really a definition, but the registration is a one-page sheet where they put down their name and their address, their hours of operation, their names. And then licensure, they have, and when they send that in, they can start operations. They don't have to have an inspector authorize them. They can go ahead and get started. And then we stop by usually once a year. And then a license, they have to apply for the license. They fill out an application. They have to pay for it. I'm not sure of what the fees are. And then they cannot start operations until the inspector comes and looks at their facility and then makes any corrections that need to be made before they can start operation. And then they get visited probably about once a year by the licensed people as well. So that's the main difference, is the registration doesn't cost anything, and there's no inspector that has to authorize their start. And also licensed facilities have to follow Chapter 343, I believe, which is the food processing regulations. Registrations, they do not have to follow those regulations. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Representative. Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Eberly, can you just highlight, we have three different levels of inspection. We have the custom, we have the state, and we have the USDA. Can you define what custom can do, where they can sell the meat, what state is allowed to do and what USDA is allowed to do. Could you do that for us?
Sure. So custom facilities are not allowed to sell meat that they have slaughtered. They have to take live animals, and then those live animals have to be returned to the owner. Now they can monetize it a little by farmers will sell shares of an animal before it is taken to slaughter, and then that farmer will deliver those shares to the new owners. That's how custom gets monetized, but they're not actually selling the meat. They're just providing the slaughter service of processing the animal. State inspection and USDA inspection are very similar. The only difference between the two is that state inspected meat cannot cross state lines, whereas USDA inspected meat can cross state lines and be exported. However, there is actually a fourth level. We signed a new cooperative agreement called the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program, and that allows state inspected facilities that wanted to stay with the state to join this program. And once they join the program and are approved by us and by USDA, they are now allowed to sell out of state. So we have 6 slaughter facilities under state inspection, and 3 of those are CIS. So those 3 are allowed to ship their products out of state. The other 3 have to stay within the state because they haven't applied for the program.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
So of the 3 categories, you just kind of touched on it, and it doesn't have to be accurate, but just some idea. Custom, state, and USDA. Each category, how many slaughterhouses do we have in the state of Maine?
Custom?
Doesn't have to be accurate, but as close as you can get it.
Yeah, I think custom it's around 44, 45 right now. That's including every stripe, every type of custom. We have 6 state slaughterhouses, 7 total. We have a processing only. USDA has 6 slaughterhouses, and they have probably about, I want to say 15, 12, 13 processing only. So those are places that bring in boxed, inspected meat and then process it under inspection to wholesale it. But as far as slaughterhouses, we have 12 in the state, half state inspected, half USDA inspected.
Thank you.
Representative Hall.
Get myself unmuted. There we go. Thank you, Senator Dill, and thank you, Dr. Everly, for being here and testify. Just a quick question. So if operation is state inspected, they can sell the meat, like say farmers markets or the local grocery store or whatever within the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Yep, that's all I wanted. I just always was under the assumption it had to be USDA. I didn't realize that they could do it just as a state inspection. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Eberly? Is there anyone else that anyone would like to hear from? I'm ready to entertain a motion. If someone has one. Representative McCray.
I would make.
Yes, okay. I move that LD 66 be passed. Is there an amendment on this?
I don't think there was anything that's been amended.
Okay. Straight up, I move LD 66 to pass.
Okay, Karen, would you comment on that? Let's move it.
I'll second that.
Karen?
Yeah, the only thing, believe it was the definition of meat in section 10 of the bill. I had communicated with the department that I thought that might need to be amended because it only says muscle that is skeletal or found, and it describes all the parts, but it doesn't say that it's of an animal. So I suggested that that be narrowed down similarly to the definition of meat food product or meat product. So basically you would say something like muscle of livestock, an amenable species, or an exotic animal as defined by the federal acts. Because otherwise it could be the muscle of anything.
Okay. Dr. Eberly, comment? Could you comment on that, please?
That's fine with us. We went back and forth until there was a definition that was suited both. So we're fine.
Okay, so the department is fine with that because actually I see under section 10 that the definition, or as Karen described, was kind of crossed out anyway because it did list some animals there. So Karen, would you read again what you have kind of suggested there? I know it'll come back to language review, but we need to make sure so that we can have it amended.
Yeah, so what I looked at, it looked like the sort of phrase of art. If you look at section 11 of the bill under meat food or meat product, it's so it would be the muscle of livestock, an amenable species, or an exotic animal as defined by the federal acts.
So it's basically that same underline that's in 28 that's underlined
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. I would go back to Representative McCray. Are you okay with that? Your bill ought to pass as amended.
I am, but under discussion, I have a question. But yes, I'm fine with that.
And I believe it was Representative Hall that seconded it. Are you okay with that on the second?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, ought to pass as amended. And Representative Kuka had his hand up first, so I will call on him and then I'll come back to Representative McCray.
I just wanted to say, I'm going to support this bill. Our custom slaughterhouses are having a hard time. We're having a hard time with just having access to meat slaughter in the state. I don't think this bill makes it any easier for any of them. I think also that we're, because of our agreements with the USDA, we're being forced to regulate our slaughterhouses according to USDA the rules, but at the same time, the custom slaughterhouses don't see any benefit from that because they can't sell things, under a USDA inspected sticker. So I'm going with this. I just want to explain my perspective on some of the regulation that we're having to force onto some of these slaughterhouses. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McCray?
Yes, just a cute comment in that I don't want this to be confused with plant muscle. But anyway, I am curious about where do organ meats fit into this thing, such as liver or what have you?
It's listed under section 10, paragraph 27. It says, Karen just didn't read the whole thing. It continues on as well as skeletal muscle. It says tongue, diaphragm, heart, esophagus, etc.
Ask an answer. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to agree with Representative Pluker that there's issues around this, whole slaughter system that I'm not happy with, but this is a housekeeping bill and I'm more than glad to move this along. But I think there's going to be more discussion in the other slaughterhouse bill to move forward in some other directions. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Cheryl, would you please call the roll?
I will. Yep. LD 66, an act to improve livestock and poultry preparation, ought to pass as amended. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
We couldn't hear who you said, Cheryl.
Representative Joseph Underwood.
Representative Underwood.
Yes.
Representative
Yes.
Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes. Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford.
Yes.
Representative Jeffrey Gifford, yes. Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. Unanimous, 13.
Okay, so on LD 66, an act to improve livestock and poultry preparation ought to pass as amended, passes 13-0. I will close the work session on LD 66, and we'll move on to LD 95. So I'll open the work session on it. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Maine to establish a right to food. So with that, Karen.
So this is a constitutional resolution. It declares that all individuals have a natural, inherent, and unalienable right to grow, raise, harvest, produce, and consume the food of their own choosing for their own nourishment, sustenance, bodily health, and well-being. So I'm not going to go over the testimony. So a little bit about constitutional amendments. This does require a 2/3. You'll notice that there's a preamble that requires a 2/3 vote of each house of the legislature. And then if it's passed during a first regular session, it may be voted on in the November of the year of passage or the following November. And it looks like as it's drafted, it would be held in the month of November following the passage of this resolution. And we did receive a preliminary fiscal impact statement. There is a fiscal note required only because it's unknown how long the ballot might be of the general election in November. So if the number or size of the referendum or bond questions requires production and delivery of a second ballot, it may require an additional appropriation, $172,000. So this is, if this looks familiar, as many of you know, this is kind of a reintroduction of a bill that died upon adjournment last session in the 129th. And at the time that this looks like it was the majority report of the committee, although there was a floor amendment. So I think that's the version that LD 95 put forward. I did receive an email this morning right before the work session that the sponsor looked like he was proposing an amendment to his bill. And so the committee can discuss that if you like. The only thing, and I'm sure many of you are already aware, you know, this is a pretty broad right. So there is uncertainty over the effects that this proposed constitutional amendment will have on interpretation of the law. And so it really will eventually need to be interpreted by the courts to determine, you know, how it will impact existing laws and regulations. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Karen? I don't know if you've all seen it, but what Representative Buckingham suggested was, and I'll just read it as one sentence, specifying that the right to food does not allow an individual to commit trespassing, theft, poaching, or other abuses of private property rights, public lands, or natural resources in the harvesting, production, or acquisition of food. And so that's that. And then there's a second part changing the question. Yeah, he just wants to change the question to reflect the changes made by the amendment. Karen.
Yeah, so I did get a chance to compare his amendment. And so what I'm looking at an email that Cheryl sent to us at 8:29 this morning, and it looks like Representative Fockingham sent this to Cheryl last evening at 7:30. So that's the version I'm looking at. So really, he doesn't provide a marked up version, but it looks like the only difference is in line 6, adding a phrase. So it would read, all individuals have a natural, inherent, and inalienable right to food, comma, including the right to, and then the rest of that line would read, save and exchange seeds, etc. I looked at the amendment to the question itself, and I don't see a difference between what he put in his email and the bill as drafted. So I'm a little confused about that. I
Right.
don't know if he's here to answer any questions.
I didn't see him earlier, but
Not here.
no.
Yeah. So it appears the question in lines 17 through 20 of the bill is identical to what he put in his email, but
Yes. And I don't know if his second half to that, like you just said, Karen, because he states what the question should be right in the center of the bill. And it almost sounds like he wanted to add that to the question also. Is that the way you interpret what he asked for?
Senator Dill.
Second.
For us to have more oversight of that
Karen?
work, keeping it within a special services position.
Oh.
The drawback.
Who was that, Representative Fluker?
Yeah, Billy Bob is here. He just has my name on them.
Oh.
Oh.
Representative Fockingham, excuse me. Yeah.
I demoted you.
I don't know if we can have two Bill Blukers on.
That's why I demoted you.
One is enough.
That is exactly right.
Welcome, Representative Billy Fluker here. Good morning, Representative Fluker.
Hey, part of it's right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Representative.
Yeah, that's the hard part of being in that waiting category. You don't know what your name says. You don't know any of that. So
right.
I guess I'll just get to it and leave. Oh, thank you. Thanks for changing my name. Right. So the amendment that I proposed, sorry about getting it over to you late. But it's very simple. It just adds in, as was just read, all individuals have a natural, inherent, and unalienable right to food, including the right to save, exchange seeds, right to grow, raise, harvest, produce, and consume the food of their own choosing for their own nourishment, sustenance, bodily health, and well-being, as long as an individual does not commit trespassing, theft, poaching, or other abuses of private property rights, public lands, or natural resources in the harvesting, production, or acquisition of food. That's more or less the same as the one you got. But the proposed amendment to the amendment makes it clear that this amendment is about food, and in particular food sovereignty. It adds the word food into the first sentence, which I had removed, but I propose adding that word back because I think it's important to make sure that everyone knows that this amendment is clearly about food. And the word food is also in the final sentence as well, especially in particular since this is about saving seeds for food for your own use. I think that it's important to have that word in there and make it clear that this is a right to food, and what it's talking about is food, nothing else. It's not talking about, especially since we have another really valuable crop propping up in the state, a crop that's surpassed potatoes in agriculture, the cannabis crop. I just want to make it clear that this amendment isn't about cannabis. This amendment is about food. So I think that adding in that first sentence that people have inherent unalienable right to food is an important addition there. Other than that, nothing changes. This is the exact same floor amendment that we saw in the 129th. That was a floor amendment that came from literally years of negotiations between the sponsor and Republicans, I guess Democrats as well, although Democrats seem to be pretty strongly in support of this. But so I think that's the amendment that I would like to see stuck with here, because it was an amendment that did gain significant Republican support. And I think that if we go with that amendment in its entirety, that we have a good bill that we can work with. That's all I have to add.
I would ask you a question, Representative. The second half of that sentence, though, it says changing the question to reflect the changes made by this amendment. Are you proposing, you actually proposed in the middle of your
yeah, that was I'll just jump in right there. That was just a miscommunication between me and my aide.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with changing the question.
No, it doesn't.
All right, thank you.
That was a miscommunication. I meant to correct it in the next email to Cheryl, but I guess it goes through Cheryl and then
right
you guys. So it got lost. It got lost in the email.
No problem. We were just trying to figure that out.
There's no change.
We're here. Okay.
Yeah, there's no changes. The only change that I'm proposing is to add one word, squeeze it in that first sentence.
Okay. Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask the sponsor, Representative Falkenham. You know, I understand, you know, we've dealt with this several times in the past, and I just continue to struggle to see where it changes anything or where the need is for this constitutional amendment. Can you enlighten me why we need this?
I think there's significant reasons that we can see even now why we need this, but many reasons that we may not have seen yet. I think certainly when someone's raising food on their own property for their own use or to be consumed by themselves or their neighbors that choose to, because it doesn't mean that I only get to choose the food that I've grown in my garden, that I've raised in my backyard. I can also choose food that is grown by my neighbor. So when people are doing things such as the farmer that was raising pigs, and he was in his case, he was going to sell them. They got mislabeled by the butcher, and then the state was, in the end, they didn't end up doing this, but the state said they were going to cut them open and bleach them. And all he was saying was, I don't want to sell them. I just want to leave them frozen in my freezer and eat them for my family. And they said, nope, that doesn't work. We're going to come cut them open and bleach them. That's a significant reason to me. When a mayor in a certain city says that he's going to limit the size of a soda pop you can drink, that's significant to me. If I want to drink an ounce of soda pop or a gallon of soda pop in one sitting, that's my own choice. And just, you know, a lot of other things like that. I think it needs to be clear that this amendment isn't about commercial sale of products. The FDA, all that, nothing changes with that. If you want to do that, you still need to get the same FDA approval, the same labels, all this labeling and whatnot. Nothing changes there. But if I want to eat food that I've produced on my own, or if I want to go to my neighbor who's produced food and I think it's safe, and I can use my, nose and taste and and judgment on what's safe food, that should be my decision, and that's why I think it's important.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
In regards to that, you mentioned it earlier about growing your own food and then be able to choose for your neighbors. So this whole premise of this constitutional amendment is if I choose to grow my own food, then somebody shouldn't be able to come in and tell me I can't grow it, I can't use it. Or if my neighbor says that I can have some of their food, or we barter back and forth, nobody can tell us that if I want to eat my neighbor's Brussels sprouts and that I can go ahead and eat their Brussels sprouts, and no federal agency or government agency could tell me that I couldn't do that. It's allowing us to eat the food that we want to eat by our choosing.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Landry.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you, Representative Billy Bob, for bringing this up to us. I appreciate the work you've put into it. In line 6, section 25, I think it's important. You have the right to save and exchange seeds. That, I think, is an important part of this bill. Corporations are patenting all kinds of things. And if you've got a tomato that you especially like and you're saving heritage seeds, we don't need somebody coming in telling us they own the rights to that seed. That's my interpretation. I don't know if that's how you see that.
Yeah, it is, and that's a very important part of this bill. I really think that seed saving is an important part of survival, and
yeah,
it's a given. It's just a given for me.
I agree with you 100%.
The other thing that really concerned me was when one of the opponents literally said that if people butcher their own food, it's unsanitary and unsafe. And took me a while to pick my jaw up off the table after that was said. And I think that's a very extremely dangerous statement, really. And that's another reason why this has to get passed, because we could never certainly limit a person's ability to butcher their own food. And like I said, this bill protects unforeseen things as well as things that we do see now. And I could foresee a time in the future where people that did truly believe that it was unsanitary for people to butcher their own food to try to pass laws where that food would have to go through some sort of an inspection or a state registered butcher or something of that matter. And I think it's very, very important that we protect this ability and right for future generations.
Thank you.
Are there other questions for Representative Fockingham? Thank you, Representative. I'd next like to call on Don Flannery. I believe, Mr. Flannery, if you'd introduce yourself.
I can. Good afternoon, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and committee members. I'm Don Flannery, the Executive Director of the Maine Potato Board.
I believe I remember from your testimony mentioning the major concern or a concern you had about this bill was how it may impact the potato seed certification program. Would you explain what you meant by that and what you think how it may impact it?
Sure. That was our concern, and I don't necessarily think it necessarily relates to potatoes. Representative Fockingham brought up hemp, and I think they have a certification program for their seed as well. So our concern is, our concern isn't about neighbors sharing garden vegetables or meat or anything like that. if this is a constitutional amendment and it goes through as written, as I understand it, our concern would be that on the commercial side, that growers, no matter what they're growing, but I'll talk about potatoes, could take and keep their seeds forever or sell their seeds and do whatever they want to do to whoever they or wherever. And there's a real valid reason and a good reason why we have, in our case, potato seed certification laws. And that's to control the generational extension of those seeds, to control diseases that affect our crop and would also affect other crops as well. I use the example of, the worst thing that anybody would want to do is plant potatoes that had a bunch of late blight in it. And that would not only affect their crop, it'd affect the neighbor's crop, but it'd affect gardeners that have potatoes and tomatoes and everything. What our seed certification regulations do are require inspections of those seed stocks. This isn't about licensing or restricting home gardeners of any sort. When I talk about commercial, I think in statute it says over an acre of potatoes. But it's to control that seed certification process controls what's out there available, not only to other seed growers, but also to commercial growers. So you're not having buildup of diseases or pests such as whatever it may be, aphids infecting PBY or whatever it may be, diseases in potatoes or late blight. So that's our concern, is that if this would pass, those rules would be then, wouldn't be in effect. I mean, a grower could, in theory, keep the same seed potatoes that he had this year for the next 20 years. I wish him the best of luck, because as you go along every year progressively, you're going to continue to see increases in diseases, whatever it may be, whether it's a pest disease or a bacterial disease like late blight. And that way it also could spread, and he could sell that every year. The seed grower could sell it every year to a commercial grower. And I think you'd find that the commercial buyers, from retail to processors, would be extremely concerned about that, because you're going to lose the productivity of those potatoes, and you're going to have an industry that's at risk because of diseases. And I would think that would be the same for other crops, and whether it's hemp or anything else. And as you may or may not know, potatoes are a little bit, the production cycle on a potato and the yield potential on a potato is a little bit like a bell curve. Earlier generations of potatoes, field year 1, field year 2, the yields on those potatoes aren't very high. When you get up into year 3, 4, 5, the production cycle or the yield is much higher. But once you get longer out into that cycle, you get out into field 8 or field year 8 or 9. In other words, the longer you go down the other side of that bell curve. So we're not concerned about gardeners sharing vegetables and any of that. We're just concerned that it would be very detrimental to our industry if our seed certification rules were no longer in effect as a result of this law.
So then what I think I might be hearing you say in section 25, lines 5 and 6, it says, all individuals have a natural, inherent, and unalienable right to save and exchange seeds and the right to grow. So if after it says the right to save and exchange seeds, except certified or patented seed, would that?
Well, that's the section I have highlighted. I don't know if it has to be patented necessarily, but I think something as it relates to certification of seeds, as it relates to certification programs or something, it could be clarified for our benefit, yes, and I think benefit of others.
Right, well, why I was saying patented, I think there's some seeds out there, I'm not a seed person, but I think some people somehow get a patent on certain seeds.
Right.
And they ask you not to save them. And I mean, the idea is so that they can keep selling them.
Right.
So if there is a patent on a seed, or if it's a certified seed, if we added those words in there, would that at least if we said certified seed, except certified, that would cover the potato, correct?
It would cover the potato as it relates to our major concern, yes. And I understand what you're saying. There are proprietary varieties that are a whole nother issue, but I think if you were to clarify it on certification would be one thing, but there are licensed varieties. We have one, we've got 2 or 3. Right. And for example, the Caribou Russet is a licensed variety. We have the license for it. We don't tell anybody in the state of Maine they can't grow it. But it's protected by us, and they have to get a license or they have to get permission for us to grow it. We're not restricting the use of it, but we're using it to the revenues from it to continue to support the University of Maine breeding program. So yeah, I think that's another element of it for sure.
I would go back to Representative Fockingham. Representative, what do you think about something like that in there?
Well, my first thoughts on it are that the amendment says that you shall not commit theft or violation of private property rights. So if the question was someone saving seeds for commercial use, they'd already be knowingly violating the law on that. Is that I had a little hard time sort of following that, but if that's the worry, if that's the worry or the concern, that's already in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, again, that he's concerned about necessarily, my backyard garden and I save the seed from one year to the next, with the exception of, I understand the disease issue from any backyard garden situation. But I think where there are some licensed varieties, there are patented seed out there. There is a seed certification program. Yes, I understand what you're saying, that you feel that it's covered under the private property rights, that you're breaking the law if you do this. But I think there's I don't know if saving potato seed from year to year, as far as the certification program goes, I think that's different than if you're saving licensed seed or patented seed, because there's a law that says these are proprietary. The certification program is a different type of a program that deals with the certifying the seed as being clean, disease-free, pest-free. So that's what the certification program is more about. So I think the two of them are a little different, but I can see where they both may need to be covered. So I'm just putting it out here to see where this goes. So, and that's why I'm asking you your opinion on that. I think there's an issue on that area. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, we got some other questions. I don't know who they're from, but let's see who's first on my list. Representative McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, Mr. Flannery. I think a little bit of this when I look at the bill, and as Representative Fockingham has mentioned it, he's talking about saving and swapping seeds, and Don, or Mr. Flannery, sorry, no farmer I know ever swaps seeds. Okay, they buy and sell seed potatoes. The experimental farm works with seeds a little bit, but there's a difference between potato seeds and seed potatoes, and that may be the crux to this, where I think the bill speaks of seeds, not seeds, corn seed, tomato seed, broccoli seed, whatever, and not potato seeds. Does that have any bearing on this at all? I'm not.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Representative McCray. I don't know. I would be concerned that it had any bearing on it, whether it's seed or seeds. I think that my concern is you'll appreciate this, Representative McCray. Exchange for what, or whether exchange for free. But if this were to go in effect and it made the seed certification law in Maine as it relates to potatoes, and I'll just speak to potatoes right now, null and void, because it allows you to do whatever you want to do. I can easily see where our growers, God bless their heart, I love them all, would take full advantage of that and do what isn't best for the industry. In other words, if I'm a seed grower and I can keep my cost of seed down and therefore sell seed to a commercial grower by keeping this way beyond my existing variety, whatever it is, way beyond when I should be keeping it, I'm probably going to try to get away with it. That's our concern. And it would be devastating for the industry if that were to happen on a commercial level. And again, I'm not talking about gardens or, roadside stands. I'm talking at a commercial level. But I don't know if just saying seeds, meaning that would make you lead, if you got into court, and whether the judge would say, because it has an S and it says seeds, that it doesn't apply to potatoes. I wouldn't venture there, so I don't know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Flannery, through the years, the potato industry in Maine has certified seed and disease-free seed, and that I mean, through the years, blight has been a continual problem for the seed industry. And if people don't realize it, I mean, you even with certified seed, you can run into problems with blight blowing in here from places that aren't using certified seed or the late blight spore blowing in. And we've had instances in history where late blight and early blight have wiped out the whole potato industry and caused famines. Is that part of your concern, that this would allow too much large scale swapping of seed that would, potato seed that would not so much the home gardener, but maybe a larger scale swapping of seed or using uncertified seed that would wipe out large portions of our crops? Is that part of your concern?
Senator Black, yes, that is at a commercial level. That is our major concern. There's some states, most major producing states have a seed certification law as it relates to potatoes. And they do it for the same reason Maine has one, is to protect their industry. So yeah, that's part of it. The other thing, even our industry, we provide a lot of seed potatoes to what we call the garden trade. We've got growers here in Aroostook County that pack a lot of potatoes in 2, 3, 5 pound bags, and they go out to garden centers. And those are going to consumers from Maine down to probably the mid-Atlantic states to use in their gardens, and they want quality seed as well. So yeah, this is a commercial issue as it relates to controlling diseases, whatever kind of disease it is, and the negative impact on our industry. We've made major changes in our seed industry and our production cycles in Maine over the last 10 years in tightening those standards up to ensure that we have the quality that we need that's out there. So yeah, I mean, it is at a commercial level, and that's our concern. And like I said, if the constitutional amendment passes and it says that, a grower could read that to say, well, I don't have to do this anymore, then it's going to be a court fight to fix it. And that's our concern.
Quick follow-up.
Sure.
Mr. Flannery, would you have a suggestion of wording, size-wise, volume-wise, that would be amendment to fix this, so that the small garden, the home backyard person could take advantage of this amendment but still protect the industry?
I don't have one right off the top of my head, and I hadn't prepared one, but I think if there's wording in there that Senator Dill suggested commercial, or I can't remember what he said, certified and private in the property rights may be addressed in what Representative Fockingham has said. But I think there needs to be language in there that whether it states commercial or whatever the wording is, so it's known that this isn't going to supersede our certification laws. And we have certification laws in Maine for more than just potatoes too. You've got it for oats. I think you've got it for hemp, and you've got other things too. So I think it's important that just whatever is amended in here it has an understanding or provides the direction that it isn't meant as it relates for commercial production in the sale and planting of commercial seeds.
Representative Pluker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is more of a comment than a question. I guess we've hit a lot of different points here that I wanted to speak to. I think that if we want to speak to licensed seed, we probably shouldn't conflate that issue with patented seed. I think our certified seed, certified seed is a state program that we, know and love and want to take care of. The patenting program is a federal program that I don't think our state constitution is going to have any effect over. And then I thank you, Mr. Flannery, for narrowing it down, that it's this commercial scale sale of disease seed that we don't want to enable with this amendment. And I'm still not a lawyer, but I don't see this amendment as giving anyone the right to sell diseased seed. A bad product is a bad product, whether it's a potato or it's an oat seed or it's a hemp seed. And if you're going and doing that, you're going to face repercussions. There's going to be liability for that. Now, do we still need a certified seed program in the state? Yes, we need that certified seed program, especially to protect our commercial growers. And so I want to make sure that we're doing that here. But I think this language here that says individuals have the right to exchange seeds, I think it's a bit of a stretch to think that now, farms are going to have the right to sell seeds as a coming out of that language. To me, it doesn't quite follow. So just those 2 points. We shouldn't allow sale of diseased seed. I don't believe this current language is going to do that. And let's also make sure that let's make sure that the laws are strong to make sure that we're not selling diseased seed that way. Thank you.
So I have 3 or 4 more questions, but I would quickly ask on that, Mr. Flannery, do you think that if it said the right to save and exchange seeds, and I'm not going to argue semantics on S and no S, but then if you said comma, except certified seed for commercial use, comma, and then move on. That covers whatever food programs there are that's certifying, because this is food, we're not talking hemp, so it's food. So like you mentioned, there might be certified oat seed.
Right.
If we took it and said for commercial use and stuck that in there, would that resolve the issue you feel that you have on potatoes in the state of Maine?
So what you're saying is that would clarify that commercial seeds are exempt from this.
It would say exchange seeds except for certified seed for commercial use.
That would address, I believe that would address our major concerns, yes.
Okay, thank you. Senator Maxman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little concerned that we don't have a legal expert here right now. I feel like we're all kind of speculating on this language, and as someone who's also working on a constitutional amendment, I think these words have much bigger meaning than we think. I'm wondering if Mr. Flannery or Representative Fockingham have consulted a legal expert or have examples or language from other states or countries that we could be looking at instead of just throwing random words into the Constitution.
Either one on? Yep, go ahead, Representative.
I think that amendments are purposely broad to broadly protect the right they are protecting, and amendments don't get into the minutia. That's better served in statutes. For example, the right to bear arms, we're not allowed to have fully automatic weapons. There are concealed carry laws in many states, that have been deemed constitutional in the US Constitution. It's these type of minutia details that are are better served in statutes, and the amendment is intended to protect the rights of the individual. And in this case, the amendment says that individuals have a right. So it's starting out as individuals, and then it goes on that it says for their own choosing, their own nourishment. Never does it say for their own commercial production anywhere in it. So I think maybe it could be added in, would be my opinion. I mean, I just don't see as that's necessary when it's this, we're talking about an individual right here that says over and over for their own individual use. So I don't see anything here that could ever be derived as commercial production of putting seeds on the market that weren't that had blight or any type of seed, good seed, bad seed, whatever. There's no way this could be contrived to be used for a commercial purpose.
Okay.
But I haven't had a lawyer look at it, no.
Mr. Flannery, did you have any legal opinion on, you think if it's seed potatoes would be?
No, we have not.
Okay, thank you. Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree it would be helpful to have a legal resource just to really smooth this out, but I do want to say just my kind of one-off thoughts about it are that constitutional rights aren't absolute. We know that when we look at our day-to-day lives. Representative Fockingham gave a great example about the difference between the difference between the right to bear arms and then the kinds of statutes that you might have regulating. I don't see the language of, accept certified seeds for commercial use as really being appropriate or broad enough to go into our Constitution. I think that's why we have implementing statutes. And if you look at Article 1 now, the kinds of things that you'll see are the right to be free from an unreasonable search or seizure, or freedom of religion, or due process rights. Like, you're not going to see super specific language like what we're talking about. So I think if there's some tailoring to be made, that can be done. I also want to note that creating this right and this protection doesn't do away with the federal government's the power to regulate interstate commerce, or the state's police power, which is the source of this power to regulate and to keep people safe. It's the power to provide for the health, the safety, the welfare. And that's where the state derives a lot of its power to do what it does to keep people safe. So these are the kinds of counterweights that will be balanced. It's like scales, and this just gives a little more power to do the kinds of things that Representative Fockingham was talking about to protect people's ability to eat the food they want, trade with their neighbors. It just gives more protection to that. So it doesn't totally wipe away the other stuff, because constitutional rights aren't absolute. And I just want to remind people of that. I appreciate what's being raised by Mr. Flannery here, but I think that statute can take care of that. I think the kind of specific things like that belong in statute, and the broader rights belong in the Constitution.
Representative Landry.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Interesting conversation. But in line 7, I think that says it all. It's for their own nourishment. And in line 5, it says all individuals for their own nourishment. We're not talking corporations or seed potatoes or anything like that. I like to keep things simple, maybe too simple sometimes, but I think that is the key for their own nourishment. Thank you.
Representative McCray.
Yes, I was just getting ready to lower my hand, but I will comment on it. Senator Dill, you suggested something about except for commercial use. And some of the discussion that has happened since then, especially with Representative O'Neill's comments, mine is going to make it even more specific in that instead of commercial use, just commercial production. But I think it's kind of a moot point at this point. I'm just throwing that in there as maybe a better word than use, having it for production.
And it may be a moot point. Representative Schofield.
Yes, Senator Dill, thank you. I just wanted to say that I agree with what Representative McCray just said, Representative Landry, Representative O'Neill. It seems to me that we're kind of muddying the waters up here a little bit. I think the intent of this, and it's very well executed, is talking about individuals. It's not talking about corporations. It's not talking about any of that. It's talking about an individual being able to grow what they want to in their backyard for their use and sharing it with their neighbors if they so desire. But it's nothing about this is, to me, is agribusiness. This agribusiness isn't part of this. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone else you need or would like to hear from? Seeing none, I'm ready to entertain a motion. Someone wants to make one.
Mr. Chair, I move ought to pass as amended with Representative Fockingham's amendment.
Okay.
I will second that, Senator Dill.
It's been moved by Representative O'Neill and seconded by Representative Schofield. Discussion. Representative Hall.
Yes. Was that going to include in that amendment about the exemption for certified seeds for commercial use? It did not.
It did not.
All right, then I'm not going to support it if it doesn't.
Senator Black.
I am in agreement with Representative Hall. I will, if it doesn't have I like the bill otherwise than that, but without the certified seed exemption or production, I can't support it. Thank you.
Representative Bernard.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to say for the record that normally speaking, I'd be watching out and carving out places for the potato industry. But as I read this bill, it seems pretty clear to me that we are talking about garden variety types of seeds that we exchange as opposed to anything large. And I think that the language in there talking about individuals and all of that really does describe pretty well what Representative Fockingham is driving at. So for that reason and that reason only, I believe that the potato industry is still being protected from anything that has been discussed, and that's why I would be in favor of this bill.
Thank you. Representative Gifford.
Yes, I would just like to echo what Representative Bernard just said. I think the individual ability to raise garden produce, I think that's covered in there. I'm pretty sure that I heard Representative Fockingham say that this was only for personal use, and I think I heard it was said that it was in that bill. So I don't see any problem with that. I don't see where that really interferes with commercial seed. Thank you.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just want to jump in and reiterate that I think Representative Landry made a great point about the food of their own choosing for their own nourishment and the clarity of the language there. And that it just would be kind of extra and uncharacteristic of the Constitution to put in this this bit about the certified seed. I think the protections are there, and we have opportunity to do anything in statute if we need to. But all the statutes there and the state's police power backs up the ability to regulate and keep people safe. I do want to see if folks would be okay with taking a 5-minute break before voting.
We could do that, Representative, or another suggestion maybe, and I don't know where the two individuals are at the moment who've already said that they would vote against this. I was wondering if what we could do is table this and get the Attorney General's office to weigh in on two things. One, does the term seed, plural, cover seed potato under the law? And number two, is it clear enough that it does completely exclude commercial production? And I guess I would ask Representative Hall and Senator Black, I don't want to put them on the spot, but since Representative Hall has his hand up, I'll ask him if that was clarified. Would that help with how you would vote? And I don't care how you want to vote on this, but if that is your issue.
But I'd be fine with that. I just would like to know that it was going to cover. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize the certified seed potato program, and not only that, if we did get some legal representation and find out what their interpretation is, because I think at this point right now we're just having too many. Well, I think we're okays, and I'd just like to know definite. That's all.
And I guess I'd ask a question of Senator Maxman, since I know she's working on a constitutional amendment, and she was the one who brought up, have we had any legal opinions on your amendment? And I'm not trying to confuse anything. Has the Attorney General or anybody looked at your constitutional amendment, Senator, just to see if everything is okay?
I haven't had the Attorney General's office looked at it, but I've had over 5 lawyers look at it.
So some lawyers have looked at it at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm willing to do whatever if someone wants to table this pending a review from the Attorney General on those 2 points. So that's all I'm asking for is, does this exclude commercial production anyway, that it's just completely individuals, which it appears that it is. And I would give whoever pointed that out, Representative Landry, whatever, I would agree with you on that. And I guess the question becomes exchange seeds. Would that cover seed potato? And there may be a legal definition of seeds, and there may be a legal definition of seed potato. I don't know. Senator Maxman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I like that idea, and I also just wanted to say that I am supportive of this bill, and I also just wanted to check with Representative Fockingham that he would be okay with that path forward.
Sure. Representative Fockingham, would that be suitable with you?
Thanks for calling on me. I was trying to find a hand raise button just to see if I could speak, but I think that if there was a legal opinion given on that, it would definitely strengthen this and really make it better for everybody. Because I feel like that, to me, that's pretty clear, but I'm not a lawyer, so.
And I agree with you, Representative. I think that's the problem, is the term seeds and seed potato and et cetera. So, okay, next on the list is Representative Underwood.
Yes, I'll make a motion to table this particular bill pending an opinion from the Attorney General's office.
Okay, and before I
ask, 2 points.
Yep, thank you. Before I ask for a second on that, there were 2 other people that had their hand up, and I don't want to stifle discussion.
Because I'm a no vote, if that's not.
Yep,
okay.
I hear you. Thank you. Representative Gifford.
Yes, I was just going to second that, Senator.
That cuts out you, Representative McCray, because he jumped in there. So, were you seconding what I was saying, or were you seconding what Representative Underwood just did? Because there's no discussion on a tabling motion, so that's why I didn't want to ask for a second. Okay,
I'm willing to go to discussion if you want to keep discussing it, but.
all right, so you haven't seconded that yet. Okay, we'll continue our discussion. Representative McCray.
Yeah, just to the point I made 10 minutes ago, I think probably it would clear this up if we just had a definition of what seeds are.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, thank you.
Senator Black, you had your hand up. You all set?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that if we had either the Attorney General or some other legal opinions on where the certified commercial seed comes in this constitutional amendment, it would might change my mind of where I am on it.
Right, and I'm not asking you to change your mind, but I know that it's hanging out there. So.
I just have concern, and it's more than just the potato industry is a certified seed.
Yep, no, I hear you, but I think that might smooth out some of the questions.
Right.
And with that, I'm back to Representative Underwood, and after you make your comments, sir, I'll ask for that second again from Representative Gifford. So go ahead, Representative Underwood.
Yes, I motion that this bill be tabled.
Yep.
Pending an opinion on seeds, pending an opinion from the Attorney General's office.
Correct. You've made the motion. Is there a second? And that was Representative Gifford.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of tabling? And we'll write a letter to the Attorney General. It's tabled. So Karen, can you put together a quick letter on those two issues?
Would an email suffice?
Email would be
quicker.
even quicker. Thank you. All right. The bill is tabled. I see two hands still up. I'll just quickly ask, is that to do with this bill or on a different issue? Representative Gifford has put his hand down. Representative Underwood, did you just not lower your hand from your motion? It's been tabled, the bill, as you requested. Very good, thank you. All right, I will close the hearing on LD 95. Resolution proposed an amendment to the Constitution of Maine to establish a right to food. And we'll open up the work session on LD 486, resolved directing the Bureau of Parks and Lands to convey certain land in Township 12, Range 13, WLS in exchange for other land in Township 11, Range 10, WLS. So with that, Karen.
So this bill proposes to direct the Director of Parks and Lands to enter into a land exchange with Clayton Lake Woodlands, LLC, to separate common and undivided interest in a parcel of land in the county, which is also known as Aroostook County. So we heard testimony in favor of the bill, and Senator Farron had presented an amendment at the public hearing. It's been posted on the committee webpage, but he did say that he submitted this bill on behalf of a constituent. And so proponents of the bill, who happen to be former deputy directors of the Bureau of Parks and Lands, said that it's long been the policy of the Bureau to consolidate these scattered public lots in order to develop a more unified, manageable land base. And so this particular southwest corner of T11R10 was identified by the Bureau in the mid-1980s as a strong candidate for acquisition due to its natural features. It was area known as Little Debooley. So, and of course, there's the Debooley land unit. So discussions were initiated back in 2017 with the landowner, and for a number of reasons, the consolidation discussions were put on hold. So this Township 12, Range 11, has the largest concentration of public lot acreage left to consolidate. It's about 5,000 acres. And we heard from proponents that without separating this 5,000 acres, it's impossible for the Bureau to initiate any of its management objectives on these lands, which belong to the people of Maine, because management of common and undivided interests falls to the majority owner, which is, in this case, is Clayton Lake Woodlands. Opponents of the bill, including the Deputy Director of Bureau of Parks and Lands testified, as well as Landvest, who is the land manager for Clayton Lake Woodlands. The department, or the Bureau in particular, testified that the landowner does not wish to trade or sell this land, and this bill runs counter to the willing seller, willing buyer approach that all landowners prefer. While it's true that the Bureau's minority ownership provides little value to the residents of Maine in terms of recreational resources or timber revenue, but the department feels at this point that the best outcome is to sell the state's interest at the appraised value. And as required by the Constitution, the resulting proceeds will be held for the purchase of other lands within the same county, in this case, Aroostook. And finally, the Bureau did testify the last line of the bill would pose a significant financial burden on public lands and the residents of Maine who enjoy them by requiring that property tax be paid on the resulting Bureau ownership. And we have not received a fiscal impact statement. And that's all I have.
Are there any questions for Karen? Seeing none, I see Senator Farren is here smiling as usual. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
What I'm thinking, Senator Dill.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. What are your thoughts on the bill? I know there was some discussion. Of course, you sat through the discussion last time. So I just thought I'd come to you first and see what you might have for thoughts.
Well, thank you. I guess a couple things run to mind. Is first, I've spoken to some members on the committee, and include myself. You know, when we did this, brought this forward from a constituent standpoint, I think there, at least myself and a couple of committee members I talked to, didn't quite understand how we had ownership as Maine residents in this whole piece, and the role that the Bureau played in protecting those interests. So it was an educational piece. I understand some of the concerns, specifically targeting this one particular area. I guess I have a couple thoughts. Is it still is, we have minority ownership. So as I think your committee has some oversight with the Bureau, and as we've seen with some of the things that have gone on, I think the Bureau needs that oversight. So maybe, you know, we could change this bill into a resolve to have the department report back to the committee on how the negotiations are going, or what that land is being done with that land, so that the committee of oversight has some say, or at least knows what's happening, so that we don't run into, you know, this gets sold and swept somewhere else, or, you know, hey, listen, I represent the folks in Somerset County up through with a corridor project, and we know where some of the lands on that piece have been. So I do think the legislature has a role to protect the citizens' interest in this piece. So either, you know, change it to resolve, or is all the way down to possibly, you know, you folks sending a letter and having the department come back, or the Bureau come back and report to you on an annual basis. I think we can't just forget about it.
So, Senator, in this particular case, could you see something like us carrying the bill over, sending a letter to the department and asking the department to just investigate the possibilities of the, I'm not sure where everybody was. It didn't seem like there was any really willing partners on doing a land swap or whatever. But which is kind of what I'm hearing you say, is have the department to look into it. They report back to us next year. No harm, no foul. They may decide, hey, nobody wants to sell, nobody wants to do anything. We're going to keep it the way it is. Then the bill goes away.
Well, I heard two different things with the department. One was that there was negotiations ongoing, which I didn't know when we put this bill forward. And then second was it might be better if the land was sold and those revenues were used to do something else for public lands. And so wherever that is, to your point, Senator Dill, if that's the case, I think we should know what the outcome of those public lands are and be made aware of that. So that's definitely an alternative.
Thank you. Senator Black.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Farron, a couple, I think you partially answered it in just your statement after I'd raised my hand, but it's kind of my understanding that there may be some kind of negotiations or talk going on between, you know, the two parties, but we haven't been privy to those, and maybe we should be. And if and we don't know where Clayton Lake Land Company or Lumber Company, if they're even willing to be part of that, or you know, buy. And the other question you kind of brought up at the end there, well, maybe we should just, you know, sell that interest because we don't have any control on it, and use that money to buy something that's more beneficial and we have more control over, and we could be the, you know, controlling, you know, have the control and interest on it, where we don't have any management say. Would you go along with a sale, even if it had to, you know, we had to wait for a piece of property or something to purchase?
Senator Black, I'm really not that detailed to looking what the swaps are. I think we as legislators probably have to lean on the Bureau a little bit about that, about what the value is and how it ties back together to the other pieces. So I really would have to study what the details of that were, and I'm not that far into the weeds.
Representative Schofield.
Thank you, Senator Dill. It seems to me from what I'm hearing that something along the lines of a resolve or even a letter might be the best approach. I believe the Bureau is working on this. I believe that we as the committee need to be appraised of that as it moves forward. And I think it would behoove us to insist that we are part of that. And I think that that's the way to proceed. I'm not sure that we need to pass a law right now or get this bill through so that it forces them to do anything. But I think we need to work with them, but they need to work with us. And I would suggest that we take that sort of a movement. And I think that's what I'm hearing from Senator Farron. And if he would acknowledge that, I would appreciate it. And also, I was going to wonder, I think Bill Patterson from the Bureau might be here, and I think at some point we need to get his opinion as well. Thank you.
Sure. And don't forget, this actually is a resolve that Senator Farron introduced. And the only thing is, it does direct them to convey, so we could easily change that to direct them to, you know, continue discussions and let us know, or as we said, just put a letter in.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. Yes.
Representative McCray.
Yeah, I'm very reluctant to see us move into something that we need more information on. I mean, we are representing the state, the people of this state, and I very much appreciate Senator Farron's, I'll say, attitude regarding pretty much the same thing, whether it be a resolve, whether it be a letter. I'd very much like to hear next year from our arm, the Bureau, and ACF, as to what would be good on behalf of the people of the state. Not so much good for a particular company or landholder. I mean, they're part and parcel to this, but I'd really like to see us make a very informed decision. And the only way to get that is not to do it now.
Okay, are there other questions? I guess, Cheryl, if you would let in Bill Patterson, if you haven't already. Good morning, Mr. Patterson. Can you hear us? There you are.
Excuse me, I can. Thank you.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Certainly. My name is Bill Patterson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Parks and Lands.
Okay. Representative Schofield, I think you were the one who suggested that we ask him in. Do you have a specific question?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning, Mr. Patterson. I just wondered, what is the process that's going on currently, and where do you see this going? And do you feel that that you can report back to us in a year or less on whatever ongoing negotiations are being made, and just give us an overview of what's happening so that we don't force you to do it? Are you taking care of that on your own, so to speak? Could you respond, please? Thank you.
Sure, certainly can do that, and thank you for the opportunity. I think the conversation is moving in a good direction. Everything I've heard here this morning, the idea of resolve or a letter asking us to report back, we're clearly aligned on intent and outcome with committee, as well as the former deputy directors, as they were acknowledged. In terms of the outcome, yes, we'd like to resolve this. We're working on it. We do feel that the most practical matter is a sale of the common undivided interest. If it were to be divided, it would likely land in the same township, and there's just not attractive opportunities there that we'd like to pursue. So we think some sort of resolve in that direction would be good. The important things being to remove the directive to use the court system. I think that was one of the real sticking points as far as private property rights, and also to remove the provision to tax the resulting acquisition, which is a precedent for public lands that would be important to remove. But otherwise, yes, I am optimistic that we can reach an agreement for a market value sale of our common undivided interest, and certainly be happy to report back to the committee on that progress.
Could I have a follow-up, Senator Dill?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And so when you do a market analysis, how could you just briefly explain how that process works for us so that we understand that it's not, well, I think Bill thinks it's worth this and Joe thinks it's worth that. You have an analysis done that's a professional approach. Is that correct?
That's correct. There'd be an appraisal of the property. The first step is to develop a timber inventory, because much of the land will be based on standing timber there. Not exactly sure what the status, whether there's existing inventory information. Oftentimes it's necessary to go out and collect some fresh information on the value of timber. And then the other principal values come from water frontage and that sort of thing. So appraisal would be used, that would generate values, and we anticipate it would be at an agreement at market value.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if Senator Farron had any an idea of what he would like to see for a letter of resolve.
Hey, with this conversation and with the Bureau here, I just offer an amendment to change the resolve, a resolve, real simple. Resolve, report annually to the legislature within the Bureau of Parks and Lands annual public lands report, progress made by the Bureau in gaining management control over the unconsolidated public lots. They come back and tell you what how what the progress is.
Other questions for either Senator Farron or Mr. Patterson? All right, seeing none. Whoops, Representative McCray.
I'm manipulating as fast as I can. Along with that, I like the sound of that, Senator Farron. Should we also throw in there and authorize the committee to report out a bill? Or not?
I don't see a need to, from what we're looking at. I mean, it really was to bring this light. That'd really be up to the committee.
Yeah, because if I heard Senator Farron right, what his new resolve does is it's not just this one piece, it's any unconsolidated public lands that the department has. Is that my understanding, Senator?
That's correct. So we're not putting a target on one particular piece or one landowner. It's what the Bureau has under their control.
Right. What is happening with any given pieces of land in any given year that they may
I like
be
it. Thank you.
working on. Representative Schofield.
Thank you, Senator Dill. I would move the language that was just expressed by Senator Farron forward. And maybe our analysts could capture that, but I would move that.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Senator Underwood. You're muted, sir.
I was just wondering about a time frame that would involve a report back to the committee.
I believe he said it was an annual report back, so.
Thank you.
Yep. Karen?
Oh, I think Representative O'Neill was before me.
I thought maybe you had a point on what the words were or something that we were discussing, but go ahead, Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I apologize, I was not at the public hearing for this, so I'm trying to catch up by reading the opposing testimony and then follow the amendment. Would you, Senator Farron, explain one more time, just in plain terms, what you're looking to do with this and what the amendment does, please?
So this was some unconsolidated public lots up in Aroostook County, and there were some issues back and forth about where that I don't want to say issues, transparency from standpoint of what the Bureau is working on, and with the landowner that we have 24% or whatever the percentage is that the main people have ownership of those parcels. And I guess what the outcome from this would be is that instead of dictating an outcome, simply that whatever these lands are, that the Bureau would report back to your committee on an annual basis on any progress on either consolidating, disposing of, whatever, so of these public lands. So the amendment is strictly just to resolve for them to report back to you folks as the Committee of Jurisdiction on the progress of that piece.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So it sounds like this is just about monitoring transparency, getting a report to our committee. This is not forcing a sale or doing anything.
Correct. We scrapped all of that and made a simple just for a report back for you folks to know what's happening.
All right, thank you.
And you're correct, Representative O'Neill. The original bill was just that, to basically, there was a forcing action there.
There was a
lot of other things, tax, etc. in there. So it gets rid of all of that. It makes it just transparent. Report back. Any further discussion? Karen, do you have enough captured there so you can?
Yes, I have YouTube to replay, figure out what the amendment is. So report back date is February 1st annually. That fine? We didn't say a date.
That is fine.
So as you discussed, this is we're turning the current proposed resolve into a somewhat broader resolve, in that it would apply to all sort of consolidation of common and undivided interest. I'm just wondering, are there many more? For some reason, I thought I heard in testimony that this may be one of the last big ones. So I don't know if it's worth broadening up. I don't know. It's just a question that I had. I don't know if Mr. Patterson.
Yes, Mr. Patterson, could you answer that question?
Sure, that's a good question. There are less than 10 parcels. I don't know the exact number, but there are others. In answer to your question, I think it would be appropriate to have the resolve apply to all of those. So good question. I was also going to suggest maybe making the date March 1st, because I believe that's the annual date all of our reporting is due, and it would be good to synchronize that with the various other things that we report.
All right, that sounds good. If that's okay with Senator Farren, and whoever made the motion, who made the
I
motion?
would include that in the motion, my motion, Senator.
Okay, and whoever seconded it, that's okay with them?
Fine with me.
Senator Black. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so that's actually helpful to hear from the Bureau that there are about 10 remaining, because a resolve is kind of limited in scope and time. So maybe if I get the permission of the committee, I could work with the Bureau on how to sort of capture that it just sort of applies to those remaining public lots that are common and undivided, with common and undivided interests.
I think I see nods saying yes, that looks fine. So with that, we'll take the roll call. And it's ought to pass as amended on 486. Yep. Okay.
LD 486 ought to pass as amended. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. 12 yes, 1 absent.
Okay, on the matter of LD 486, it's been ought to pass as amended, 1201. It passes as amended. Thank you all for your time, and we'll close the work session on LD 486. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, committee members, department, Karen, everybody. Thank you very, very much.
All right, we'll open the work session on LD 561, a resolve to improve standards for animal rescue entities. Karen.
So this is a resolve that requires the department to adopt rules that set standards for animal rescue entities, including but not limited to rescue dog operations that specify staff to animal ratios and that govern animals that are returned multiple times and resold or placed in multiple homes. So we heard from proponents of the bill that this bill was submitted in response to a complaint from a rescue operation with over 50 dogs and the inability to provide adequate care, and where a vicious dog was sold and returned 3 or 4 times. Proponents feel that staff to animal ratios and other operational regulations would ensure the safety and welfare of the animals under the care of these entities. At the public hearing, there was a lot of testimony about the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, AWAC. Proponents feel that that committee is well suited to advise the department on the creation of regulations and standards for animal rescue entities. However, the group has been unable to meet since May 2019. And, proponents said AWAC should be reinstated as soon as possible to assist in creating these standards. There was no testimony in opposition. The department animal welfare program did testify neither for nor against. They did say that while the bill is well-intentioned, this issue is extremely complicated, and this proposal may prove too ambitious to accomplish in a fair, consistent manner that would apply to all licensed facilities. The Animal Welfare Program works hard to ensure the humane treatment of animals through communication, education, and enforcement of animal welfare laws, and currently has an inspection that animal shelters must pass to operate. The director, Liam Hughes, also talked about the capacity for care concept. This has been discussed nationally for a few years, and AWP has discussed it also on how to incorporate these practices. But you know, they regulate 504 facilities, so one size does not fit all in this regard. It was pointed out by the Maine Federation of Humane Societies that there are Maine rules, chapter rules governing animal welfare, chapter 701, and also another chapter rule 216 that governs the sale of dogs and cats and importation of dogs and cats. And these cover animal health requirements, housing standards, disease control, record keeping, breeding, kennels, and pet shops. So the Maine Federation of Humane Societies said these rule chapters should probably be reviewed and updated at some point, but they felt like directing rulemaking at this time is premature. And again, they also did say that it is unfortunate that AWAC has not met since May 2019 due to vacancies. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Karen? Seeing none, I will turn to Representative Stearns, who I see is here, to see if there's anything he would like to add to our discussion.
Thank you, Senator. For stepping into areas that are far more complicated than what they appear to be on the surface. But I don't have any specific insights for the committee, but I might suggest that a letter to perhaps to the governor, if she appoints the AWAC group, or a letter to the lead of the AWAC group urging them to get back together at the earliest possible date and to review the specifics and perhaps make some recommendations back. That might be a good starting point. I've learned a lot from this bill, and I think there are some issues out there, but I don't have a specific remedy that I think the committee could move forward with today.
Thank you. Karen, and maybe you said it and I didn't hear you, but did I see from somebody, Humane Society perhaps, a possible one sentence or so amendment? Or
yeah, well, there was,
that I thought I just saw recently, but it might have been.
We did get an email this morning. I don't know if it was from the Maine Federation of Humane Societies, but I did get it this morning and I printed it out, and I can't put my hands on it at the moment.
Would you like me to resend it? It's from Kate Lisnick.
Sure. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So I found it. So this would amend the resolve, and instead it says that the department, instead of shall adopt, will explore rules that may include increased standards for animal rescue entities, etc. It adds animal care, including but not limited to rescue operations, animal care standards, and other oversight of animals with a bite history. Rules adopted pursuant to this section are routine technical. What strikes me as a little odd immediately when I read this is that they're directing the department to explore rules that may include, and then it says they're routine technical. I mean, it would be shall, it just seems kind of vague. And maybe something that's better in a letter, I don't know, but I'm not sure what explore means.
Okay. I just had quickly glanced at it this morning when it came in, so, okay.
The lady that sent it is in the waiting room. If you'd like me to promote her.
First, I will call on Mr. Hughes. Good morning, Liam. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, members of the committee. My name is Liam Hughes. I'm the Director of Animal Welfare for the state of Maine.
Now that we've had the public hearing and, you've listened to it and kind of had some time to think about it, thoughts on LD 561?
We have probably, we actually just were rated #1 for animal welfare laws in the country by the Animal Legal Defense Fund. And much of our inspection process of these facilities, we're looking for proper, clean, humane living conditions, proper medical care, proper shelter. And a majority of the facilities that we inspect, they have to meet that criteria. If they're not meeting that criteria because they have not enough people to take care of those animals, then these are things that we try to identify and get them to improve on or change, otherwise face the penalties or potential suspension of the license that they hold. Our rules are pretty good, but we're always looking for ways to make them better. For the past couple of years, we've been actually looking at the capacity to care issue, trying to make it so we can inject that into our rules for all facilities, whether it's a breeding facility or if it's a boarding kennel, an animal shelter, an animal rescue. We want to have a level playing field for everybody involved. And as the representative that brought this forward pointed out, this is a very complicated situation. So because an animal rescue is very different from a brick and mortar animal shelter. They have similar missions, but they are doing things slightly differently. We have a limited number of brick and mortar animal shelters that take in stray animals, but we do have a large number of rescues that are home-based, that are nothing but volunteer dependent or foster home dependent. So there's no facility for us to inspect for the animal care. So it is very complicated, and we are always trying to get our hands around it to make sure everybody's playing by those rules. Kate Linsick did bring up to me their proposed amendment, and we didn't really see a problem with it. Again, it's something that we're doing already. Oh, and just on regards to the oversight of animals with bite history, we do have it in the current rules that a dog or animal that has an unmanageable aggression that can't be solved through behavior, this is something that's not permitted. So if it's a known aggressive or dangerous dog, they're not allowed to adopt it out. Not only for our rules and regulations that could affect their licensing, but it would also put them at risk for liability issues, where if this dog is known to be dangerous and does have a bite history that causes damage, that shelter would then be liable fiscally and every other way manageable that, they adopted an animal that they know they shouldn't have.
While we're talking here, one of the questions that was brought up by Representative Stearns was AWAC. What is the story with that? I mean, like they said, it's been a while since it's met. Is it pretty well gutted? There's not enough people. They don't have a quorum.
It started in the last administration where just nobody was getting appointed for a lot of stuff. I know that I've been talking with the governor's office about trying to make sure we can get people appointed. They're doing the best they can to try to get people back on it. It's one of those things that their absence is felt. The way I've described AWAC is they're kind of the United Nations of the animal world, to basically try to bring together all these different perspectives, all these different challenges that we face, and they have all different viewpoints and voices. So having that group back together is important. And again, we have been working with the governor's office to find qualified people to be appointed and then, serve on the board. We just have not had a quorum for a long time.
Sure. How many people are you missing? Do you know off the top of your head, vacancies are there?
Only one person has been appointed in the past 4 or 5 years, I believe.
Okay, and how many members are on it total?
I believe it's 14.
14. Yep. Okay. Representative Schofield. Then we'll get to Representative's turns. He should know the rules by now, but
yeah. If you prefer Senator Dill, I could defer to Representative Stearns, but
oh no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to get him to feeling comfortable here.
My question, Mr. Hughes, is will this, if we pass this, will this be helpful to you? Will it make it better for your group, or will it just make things more complicated?
Honestly, I don't think it would help us, but because this is something that we're already working towards. It's just, we want to make sure that we can, again, have it for a level playing field, because the issues that we see are just not on animal shelters, animal rescues. We see these issues with breeding kennels. We see some of these same issues with pet stores, or even boarding kennels that might be overcrowded with too many animals and not enough people. So again, we want to make sure that this is going to be, for everyone that we license, fair across the board.
And if I could just follow up, Senator, so would you think it would be helpful to you if we just sort of communicated with the governor that we'd like to see more people added to the oversight group, the AWAC group?
I don't think that will hurt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Hughes? Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate the latitude. I know there's no obligation to call on me to speak, but I was wondering if Mr. Hughes, I believe there's a California law regarding an animal that bites. And I'm wondering if there's any civil penalty. Let's say that a rescue shelter has placed a dog, and the dog does bite, and they get it back. Is there any penalty if they place that dog again?
I'm not familiar with the California law, but under our rules and laws, again, they would be held liable if they adopted this animal out and they knew it had a bite history, that they knew there was an issue. Unfortunately, some of the shelters and rescues that are bringing animals up, they're not getting a lot of information on the animals as they're getting them from these shelters. There are a lot that are doing good work with it, where they are communicating, they find really good partners in other parts of the country, and they work on getting the appropriate vaccines and behavior testing. But if we had a situation not long ago dealing with a dog that was imported from Dubai, that came in with a questionable history, that when it went to one rescue, who this rescue was operating, they were not in the state of Maine, they were out of the state of Virginia. But they were calling people here and getting the dog adopted through people here, which is a violation of our rules and regulations. This dog went in the custody of 3 or 4 different people within the span of 3 or 4 days, and ended up biting several people. So that dog, unfortunately, traveled halfway across the planet to be euthanized here. That's not the outcome that we want for any of these animals. But it just shows kind of what we're dealing with, where people's good intentions here in Maine are getting duped by somebody in another state. So that's always been one of our challenges, to try to figure out how do we control that and make sure that the shelters and rescues here in Maine are playing by the right set of rules, that they are obeying it, they are providing the right information about whatever history they do have on the animal, and making sure it's a good match for that family. Many times there are animals that are adopted out and returned because sometimes it just was not a good fit. Trying to find the expectations of the person trying to adopt an animal and the animal's ability to cope with its new surroundings and the stress that comes with it, it's a real challenge. So, tempering the public's expectations is another huge challenge that we're also facing as well too, because the demand for animals has skyrocketed over the past year to unexpected levels. And most of the shelters and breeders in the state of Maine just can't keep up with the demand of the Maine public's desire to get new pets and animals.
Are there any other questions? Is there anyone else that anyone needs to hear from? Seeing none, I'm ready for a motion if someone wants to make one.
Senator,
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion ought not to pass.
Representative Schofield has made a motion ought not to pass. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Representative Bernard. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Senator,
Yes.
Bill, I would like the chairs of the committee, to draft a letter to the administration advising them that we've seen a concern here with the lack of appointments to the WAF committee, and we'd like to encourage the administration to correct that.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Cheryl, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I will. LD 567, 561. Resolve to improve standards for animal rescue entities. Ought not to pass. Representative Lori Osha.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Representative Hall, you're muted.
Hey, that works better. Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker. Representative Bill Pluker.
I believe he's not here.
Absent. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent.
Absent.
Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. That's 11 yes, 0 no, 2 absent.
Okay, on ought not to pass on LD 561, resolve to improve standards for animal rescue entities. The vote is 11-0 to 2. It does not pass. We'll close the hearing on LD 561. Karen, what else do you have for us?
I got the fiscal notes for a couple of committee reports on LD 155. The majority report was ought to pass as amended, and this is a neonics bill. So the majority report directs the Board of Pesticides Control to prohibit the use of neonics for outdoor use. So there is a fiscal note required. It's a minor cost increase to other special revenue funds. But under the fiscal detail and notes, it says any additional cost to the board as a result of the changes to the use classification of products containing certain neonicotinoids are anticipated to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. And then there is a fiscal note for Majority Report A, which was ought to pass as amended. That Minority Report A directed the board to restrict the use or change the classification to restricted use for neonics for outdoor use. And again, it's a similar fiscal note. It's yes, minor cost increase to other special revenue funds. It reads the same, although I think the paragraph needs to be changed to as a result of the restriction of use rather than prohibition, but I'll talk to OFPR about that. So I just bringing those to you for your review.
All right, thank you. Any questions on those? Nope. Anything else, Karen?
Not that I can think of.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we close stuff up today, Senator Black and I had spoken before the meeting, and based on our conversation last week that we initiated about the about BPL re-signing a lease of public land for the corridor project, I wanted to make a proposal, and I don't know what form that would take, but I'll just describe it now. That we would send a letter to DACF. So that means the commissioner and Director Cutco. And that letter would basically inform those agents that we consider the signing of this lease to constitute a substantial alteration of the parcel of public land that's being leased. And I have, some draft text that we could provide to Karen for that letter. And the idea would be that we send a letter out to the department saying this, and hopefully we can get it Thursday for language review, just to look it over.
Okay. Any questions for Representative O'Neill on that? We probably should have a vote on that. I think Representative O'Neill, if you just want to, do you think just a show of hands is okay on this to move it along?
Yes, please. Yeah, I can make a formal motion that that we, as a committee, send a letter to DACF, to the commissioner and Director Cutco, finding that this is a substantial alteration, and pushing the department to send this to the full legislature for a vote.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll just try it by a show of hands. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed.
How many in favor? I can't.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Representative Gifford is not here.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Representative Bernard, do you mind me asking about your opposition to it, and just maybe we can, come to a place where we're in agreement?
I'm not sure that we can. I don't want to see this go to the floor and go under the hammer, basically. I still feel very much, I'm afraid that this is going to slow down the corridor, which I am in favor of.
Okay. All right, thanks for letting us know.
So what we have in front of us is on Thursday, we have 6 public hearings. So I expect we could be in for a fairly long day again. And this afternoon, we do have a hearing with a report back on our budget with AFA at 1 p.m. Anyone that wants to go can. Since we had some corrections or suggestions or additions to the budget, I will be there. I know Representative Pluker has asked to be there because many of them was his. I think one of them was Representative Schofield. I don't know if he plans to be there. And I don't know if everybody has the link. Karen, have you seen the link? I got it this morning. Did
Yes.
the whole committee get it?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody has the link to go ahead and attend that, and that's at 1 o'clock. Can I just have a show of hands of who may be attending? Okay, Representative Schofield, Representative Pluker, myself, Representative Osher. Representative Landry, are you putting your hand up because you're going to be there, and you're going to be there? And do you also have a question? I have see other. You're muted, Representative Landry.
Question on another subject. On a vote the other day on 324, we discussed it. I spoke with Senator Black about bringing it up for reconsideration.
Okay.
Is this a time to do that?
What was 324, just out of curiosity?
Oh, that was
Representative Jabner's bill
Oh, yes.
on public lands.
Limiting the size of the amount of public lands.
Yep. Yes, you can bring it up now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
having voted on the prevailing side, I'd like to reconsider the vote.
Okay. Is there a second to reconsider the vote? I will second that then. Or
I was going to.
Okay, thank you, Representative Hall. It was seconded by Representative Hall. Discussion. Representative Pluker.
Sorry, I had a question about the budget when we get back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, all in favor of reconsideration, raise your hand. Okay, it's reconsidered. So LD 324, Karen, would you read the title and Cheryl and tell us the vote?
Let me grab the bill file.
Okay.
I can read it if you'd like me to.
So this is an act to limit public land ownership in Maine. And the committee vote, I believe, was 12-1 with Representative Landry voting ought not to pass. And there was no fiscal note, so it would have been a straight ought not to pass. I mean, I'm sorry. Just erase everything I just said for the last minute. It was ought not to pass majority report, ought to pass minority report of 1, and would be straight ought to pass.
Right.
And
I would just like to change my vote.
So I guess someone just needs to make another motion since you've now reconsidered it. Oh, Senator Dill, you're muted.
I would make a motion ought not to pass. Senator Dill.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
all righty, this is for LD 324, an act to limit public land ownership in Maine, ought not to pass. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood.
Yes.
Representative Joseph Underwood, yes. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker.
Yes.
Representative Bill Pluker, yes. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray.
Yes.
Representative David McCray, yes. Representative Susan Bernard.
Yes.
Representative Susan Bernard, yes. 12 yes, 0 no, 1 absent.
Okay, so on LD 324 ought not to pass at the moment is unanimous 12-0 with one absent. So with that, is there anything else to come before us today? Cheryl?
Would Representative Fluker like to place a vote for 561?
Was it unanimous otherwise?
It was ought not to pass unanimous other than 2 people, yes.
With a letter to the governor's office about the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, Council Committee, actually.
I'd vote the prevailing side. Thank you.
Okay. So that is ought not to pass. One more on that. Is there anything else that we need to discuss? Representative Pluka wants to say something about the budget.
I was just asking, do we have any idea of what the ag budget that's being that is going to the floor next week looks like?
Do we?
Yeah, do we know what it includes or doesn't include or any of that?
I don't know if it includes our additions or not. No. I assume that will be decided before they put it forward next week, since that's why they're having the meeting this afternoon. They do have our letter with our suggestion, though. Or
So
what we asked.
It might include the department's initiatives.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Representative Pluka, did you get my email this morning? So look for it. I did send the memo to the Appropriations Committee from the ACF chairs, and it also has the department did a summary of the changes, and then the actual report back template with all the committee votes. So it's 3 attachments to the email, and that was sent to OFPR this morning, so they have it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, do you mind me jumping in too?
Go ahead.
Rep. Booker, I think, today is the work session. It's a good opportunity to raise that and say that you'd like to see it included next week, just to complete the thought.
Representative Hall.
Yes, thank you. Senator Dale, you want to just maybe bring the rest of the committee up to speed on a change we talked about earlier today in our leads meeting this morning about a change of schedule because of the upcoming session, whatnot?
Okay, yes, I don't know if everybody's got it yet, but we will be called into session next Tuesday, the 30th, and it may extend into the 31st. You know how those things go. And it's about the budget. They want to put a vote forward on the budget. I don't know if there's going to be anything else. I asked that question. I didn't get an answer yet if we're doing anything other than the budget that day. But we are coming in on the 30th. I would expect it could easily go over to the 31st, but I don't know. And because of that, we will not have a committee meeting. We've already moved all the stuff from the 30th to the following week. That's all I know. And I was told by President Jackson that we wouldn't be meeting that week because there was some speculation out there that we were going to meet on the 7th and 8th. And he told us to go ahead and schedule committee meetings on those days. So that's all I know, but there is going to be a session on the 30th for those of you that haven't heard that yet. Anything else anybody has? Karen?
Senator Dale, I know this is not necessarily for the full committee, but the chairs and leads planning meeting is usually at 8:30 on Tuesday.
Right.
And I imagine especially the House chairs will probably be caucusing if they start at 9. So I'm looking for an alternative time. Either, I guess it would have to be Monday
It would have to be Monday,
to do
yes.
planning. Yeah. So, I mean, we don't have to do it right now, but it's easier to reach you guys right now.
Well, it is, but I know the only thing I can tell you is several of us on that have, some of us have IF&W that morning, so.
Yeah. Okay.
So it would have to be in the afternoon.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't, we'll try to find if you want to send an email out to us.
Okay.
And we'll try to find a half hour or so in the afternoon. I'll look at the schedule and see what it looks like, how busy, and I'll give you a rough time once I do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else come before us before I get a motion to adjourn? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded by Representative Landry, moved by Representative Schofield. All in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Thank you.
Stay forever.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.